Hey, yo.
Yo.
Hey Zhen, welcome to the school bus.
Hey.
Welcome, Zhen.
No, thanks for having me here, guys. On such short notice as well.
Short notice, you were up there in the art hotel. We dragged you out here, and we got you on the show.
Indeed. And this is definitely an efficient setup. For those of you, I guess we have a camera, so you guys can't see us. But for those of you who are just listening, we're in a purple school bus, and I think this school bus just goes all around the different venues at this point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's our sovereign school bus.
And yeah, Zhen, you're lucky to be getting the first official school bus interview. So.
Oh, wow.
Congrats.
Super excited. Wow. Honored.
Cool. So Zhen, just to get started, maybe you could introduce yourself and just share a bit about your background.
100%. My name is Zhen, and I'm one of the co-founders of Web3Auth. What Web3Auth does is we do seamless and easy passwordless and social logins into the crypto ecosystem. So these logins are non-custodial as well. The way we achieve that is via like MPC or off-chain multi-sigs. We basically split the user's key up into multiple different parts. One of the parts is kept with the social login of choice, be it passwordless or Google, and the second part is kept on the user's device. So the key thing is just leveraging things that users own to help them manage their public-private key pairs. I've been in crypto space for a while now, I think since 2016. Web3Auth has been around for maybe 2.5 years at this point. And we've been working together as well for I think a good year and a half, us and the Sapiens team, all the way from back when I think originally you guys first cropped up, and now with the full NFT Passport endeavor, and super exciting what you guys are doing in the next phase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So speaking to what we're doing, so we're here launching a digital nation and looking for founding members that can contribute in big ways, and we're looking to solve big problems. So would love to hear from you. What do you think are some big problems in society that we're facing, and how do you think we can address them?
Wow, that's a very general question. Racism. Let's end racism. So let's see. Biggest problem?
Biggest problem. Let's go with that.
It'd probably be climate change, wouldn't that?
Mm.
That'll probably be the biggest one. As much as people deny, I do think crypto solves climate change to a certain extent. Maybe that's a little bit too far-fetched. Not the way it currently is,
Right,
but
right.
perhaps like in the future with better coordination layers.
I think that's a big part, the coordination and getting the right incentives for people to actually come together and and tackle a problem like that. I think
I've been thinking about a project, to be honest, which is, and if I wasn't on Web3Auth, I would totally springboard this. So somebody who's listening perhaps could. But like, a big problem today is with the adoption of EV and like solar energy and all is batteries. Batteries are a big problem. And the biggest problem to batteries is the fundamental underlying resources which batteries take up. Lithium, as well as several other metals, right? Now, because of but because of like manufacturing and pipeline processes, the batteries are currently like electronic batteries are currently on like lithium ion, which is good, but it's not as optimized as the most recent like solid state batteries, which still use lithium and all, but use it more efficiently could do. And it's going to take you, and the main problem is economies of scale, right? It's economies of scale. So economies of scale, it's too expensive right now to be using solid state batteries because all of the manufacturers are on the previous one. Everybody's still buying the previous one. So if we could get everybody to agree on buying solid state batteries instead of like buying the previous one, we could achieve commitment for those economies of scale and actually progress the progression and make batteries a little bit more efficient. So I mean, that's just something like coordination could really do, and a DAO could really do.
Yeah.
Imagine if everybody had to commit and stake a certain amount of value, and if you didn't buy that amount of solid state batteries, we'd burn it.
Yes. Sounds like a great initiative, Zen. I hope someone listening takes you up on that offer.
we need the battery DAO ASAP.
Battery DAO, that's a good
ASAP. So I guess speaking a little bit to just some of the projects, obviously you're heavily involved in Web3Auth, but what are just some of the other interesting or impactful projects that you've contributed to or been a part of?
As part of Web3Auth, who we talk to are mainly applications, right? And obviously, Sapiens is a really cool one, what you guys are doing in terms of enabling interoperability, I would say, between DAOs, which is really cool. But several other projects to perhaps be we're internally excited about is Really projects which are more interesting use cases and just very well implemented projects. So you've got Skyweaver. I think I'm super stoked by them. They also use Web3 Auth. Skyweaver is like a TCG card game, of which I'm addicted to naturally. It's got its own lore, it's got its own setup. It's just a fantastic, fully fledged out crypto game at this point in time. It's out in beta, and it's just weird to me that it hasn't got as much attention. I think definitely a lot of people should be looking out for them.
Big Magic player myself, but haven't yet checked out Skyweaver, but I guess I should.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I think they're doing something at ETHDenver as well, so like do check them out. Other use cases include several UBI experiments that I've been quite interested in, like good dollar circles. I think social currencies are something that's definitely very interesting. Although NFTs and all might do it a little bit better than social currencies because people, I think, are more affiliated to things and currencies at play. It becomes a little bit more icky and harder to manage relative to unique things, but still very excited for UBI experiments in general.
Yeah, that's actually a big one that we're thinking about even with the NFT passport, because essentially anyone who is a citizen within the Sapien Nation, we want to think about running an experiment like UBI, right, where we can actually give them some of our currency and help them choose which projects they want to invest into, or even at a broader level, like just the governance around that, right? If we decide to go with a pool of tokens, they can direct, the projects that they want to fund.
Not implementing it in a traditional UBI sense, but in a token swap, right? So that the incentives are aligned. And then not holding that back to the individual level, but also applying it to collectives, to projects that people spin up. So.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And I think ultimately it's more about the communities which support it relative to, fundamentally it's UBI or any other currency is about respect, right? And I think an approach which already has people more involved in DAOs could potentially be a better avenue to making people respect that currency a little bit more.
And even with that, when we're thinking about this like context of a nation, right? Like what more respect can a nation show to its citizens than actually investing into them, right? And what Rob's talking about, the token swap, essentially like, we're putting in a currency to founding members, right? And we're receiving some of their tokens back. So like it's just like this mutual stake that's going on, which I think is a more sophisticated model of UBI, as opposed to just, hey, let me hand you a blank check and do something with it.
Yep. That's more like quantitative easing,
So I think one of the biggest impacts is when communities come together and align and are able to contribute to something together. So Zhen, I'm interested to hear what communities out there you think should collaborate outside of Web3 Auth.
So I think, to be honest, a lot of the communities which exist today. So one of the most interesting projects that I've recently heard about is what I'm excited about when it comes to anything on the blockchain, be it NFTs or anything like that, is specific use cases that these projects target, right? So in particular, let me give an example. There's this one which is targeting the writer community. Writers right now are broke. I'm sure everybody knows. It's not it's not the most lucrative thing you could do, and a lot of them are in it because they care about what they're producing. They're artists in their own right. I've seen a project that came from the Web2 space actually, that was building something that was catering to writers. So the first thing was like social accountability, like getting writers to participate in like a everyday kind of like community sort of thing, accountability there. And then it moved on to kind of like writer education and like thought leadership, where like they were providing value via like courses or like big writers coming in and talking about their writing process and helping like these small writers grow. So they were really building this community. And I think when you aim a specific target market, right, and you try to solve their needs and their goals, and for writers better write, how to better get product, you're already creating value through this party. This value can then be kind of like shared with everybody else, and that's when anything blockchain comes in, NFTs or tokenization really helps boost. It's helping to amplify those initial effects that we already have and support like communities which aren't supported today.
Right. No, that's massive, man. Because if you just think about like the incentives that exist in social today, these writers, they're not optimizing for value creation. It's all about attention. Twitter. It's all about whatever drives them most clicks. And I think putting a community together again with a shared stake, I think that is very underexplored. And I think it's just starting. I think there's interesting experiments already with Mirror and a few other ones, but it's early. And I think again, one of the things with the Republic of DAOs and that idea is that, it's not just going to be one DAO or one community that's going to win it all, right? There needs to be this economic network created Otherwise, you know, you can only go so far with just one community.
Yeah, I think curation has to play a big part of it, and it's what helps build the communities, I think, at some level as well, when people are sharing thoughts back and forth and, you know, analyzing each other's writings and coming together to figure out what matters to them. That's how they can build a community. So that's one of the big things we're focused on.
And I guess it's just more of kind of like, it's almost as if people who are keen on Web3 are a class of people by themselves, or keen on DAOs, right? And interoperability and this kind of like passport allows them to really connect to, or have a window of, it caters to them in allowing them to understand what they're doing, what they want to do. I think one interesting comparison, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because it's a project that has been done in the past, is Metastore. Have you guys heard of them?
Not familiar, no.
I'm not sure if I'm even pronouncing it right. I always get it wrong. It's kind of like a decentralized Twitter, but they don't take decentralization the same way Web3 takes decentralization. They strongly are against incentives. It's more of just the layer of like servers such that tweets are decentralized.
Mastodon.
Yeah, Mastodon.
Oh yeah, Mastodon. Yeah.
I'm butchering.
Yeah. No, Mastodon.
Mastodon.
We did look at them a bit, and I think that you're missing a lot without the right incentives. I remember early on, in our journey, we had these engineers who came on and they had tried to build this decentralized social media called, I think it was Subby, and it was entirely on smart contracts, right? And all content was created there. It was a little bit expensive because of gas, but hey, it was decentralized. I think I remember them telling me that first day they uploaded, and they went live. First day there was child pornography like uploaded, right? And I was just thinking to myself, like, sure, we can create that sort of type of technology, but is that what the world needs right now? Like, sure, decentralization works.
I mean, decentralization for the sake of decentralization really isn't always necessary. I always feel like it's more of a tool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Means to an end.
Right, and who's controlling that tool? For us, the answer lies in the community, right? The tribe. The tribe needs to be in control of these tools and also, like, help sort of self-govern. Not just like, there's not going to be some other person that's going to come in and tell you what's right or wrong. That's a big part of the social ledger piece too.
At the same time, they need to be able to leverage networks of trust, because this thing needs to scale, right? We need to figure out who's contributing in good ways, and we need to do that through networks of trust between communities. So each community doesn't have to go and replicate the same process of identifying bad actors, but they can leverage their shared trust in each other to figure out who to include and exclude from their communities.
So how are you guys thinking about that on a technical level? I mean, I'm interested to hear myself.
Wait a second, Zhen. We're interviewing you here. You just reverses it on us. No, if you're interested in the technical, we recently dropped the purple paper, and it dives into all these primitives, the curation layer, the social layer, the economic layer.
So at a very high level, it's the community-based social ledger in the passport that occurs at each community level.
So it's via social graphs and okay. I mean, there have been several social graphs that have come out. It's interesting to see, because the scorings can always be gamed in some sort of way, right? We've been thinking about these ourselves, which is why I just think it's an interesting topic. Because for us, we sit on the cusp between Web 3 and Web 2, and we also connect a lot of these OAuths from Web 2 to Web 3. And essentially that comes with existing social graphs that people already have and are willing to share, of course, on user permission. But I mean, it's more of how do you make it such that, if you put a score on top of it, that, especially a transparent scoring, any scoring has been gamed. Google's been gamed in terms of trying to do PageRank.
Yeah, I don't know if the score is the right way to approach it. That's certainly not our immediate focus on it.
There have been experiments even with the score. There was this company, Narrative, that tried this, and they put reputation scores on each person in the network. Turned out that the founders of the company had the highest scores all the time, and it was wait, can we actually trust this thing? Will it actually take off? But as Rob's saying, it needs to be in the community as far as we can see it. I guess speaking a little bit broadly about the crypto space, what do you feel like we could be doing better as a whole?
I think there's a lot of NFT hate in this space right now. Not in this space, not in the Web 3 space, but in the Web 2 space, embarking into Web 3. And I think a big part of that is because the use cases that enables is actually very monetary. It's been a lot about luxury goods, to be honest. And NFT right now can be compared to me, and I'm no expert in NFTs, I don't know anything, but I feel like it's a lot about luxury goods. To buy an NFT is minimum a couple $100 at this point, and the ones which are really impressive are the ones which go on to $1 million, a couple of stuff like that, right? So it's a luxury good at this point in time, but the tool itself isn't supposed to be a luxury good. But the reason why it's a luxury good at this point in time is because of really the barriers to adoption, right? gas fees being one of them. It costs $50 to buy an NFT, so you already want you erase everything under that, right, in terms of use cases. And above layer 2 is helping out there, and then it's just like the mental need to understand like seed phrases and all that, and and that's why we built Web3Auth, right? Yeah, I'm actually looking forward. I think I'm hoping for more low cost use cases, low on the ground cost use cases, something free NFTs, free gateways into communities, things which rely. It's fine that has incentives further down the line, but the incentives like at the start should be small, little, nothing at all almost.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the focus on luxury goods does sort of distort the view of what's going on in this space. I think it's sort of just maybe a general economic trend of how things play out. It seems to parallel EVs and like Tesla, for example.
Yeah.
I think we can definitely be collectively as a space doing a better job communicating what the ultimate low cost value proposition.
For the longest time, people didn't think EVs could be actually low cost, but it's those pushback there, and hopefully we can get as a community across this pushback.
I think we can, and I think things like ETHDenver are gonna help.
Oh yeah, the culture has been great. This is what it's about. Again, NFTs. As far as I was just thinking a lot about what you just said, and it's a tool at the end of the day, right? And coming from a computer science background, it's a non-fungible token, right? And whatever people want to put on it, and whatever lore that they want to tell around it, that's for people to collectively, believe, right?
Yeah.
Or delude themselves into one or another.
So speaking to that and the culture that we're trying to create, so we're creating these NFT passports and letting people choose historical figures as sort of an inspirational idea of, okay, coming together, if we had all of these important people throughout history, what could we accomplish? So Zhen, what historical figures have inspired you?
So you guys actually asked this question before the call for me, but I couldn't come up with one. Now that you guys are asking me, I also still haven't come up with one. But let me just give 5 seconds.
Doesn't have to be a final choice.
It's
non-binding.
We'll have to sign this document. That's it.
Let's see, a historical figure. Let's see, one that has resonated on me. This is gonna sound super patriotic, but I think Lee Kuan Yew was a good historical figure. For those of you who don't know, that was like Singapore's prime minister, benevolent dictator during his time. Of course, we're democratic. Don't let me. Is it yes? Singapore government, please. We're democratic. But in terms of when things are starting out, he was quite ruthless in terms of pushing his vision and his agenda for Singapore moving forward. And I do think the most efficient form of governance is a benevolent dictator initially, for sure. Or in general times, like having somebody lead it, and like it's the reason why startups are all benevolent dictatorships and stuff like that.
Very Hobbesian of you.
Something to the philosopher king, but always seems hard to achieve that perfection.
But I think in the long term, that's when you have regime changes and all, that's when problems start cropping up. But so I think he did good for his time.
That's a good one. I mean, it's crazy, right? Like through this process, we've been realizing like, hey, everyone's like flawed in one way or another. Like everyone, like there's always someone's hiding some skeletons in their closet somewhere, right?
No, 100%.
And one of the things is like, can we just start appreciating the good in people, like just from the past? And everyone has something to contribute. Yep. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're all human after all. Therefore,
all right.
The name Sapiens.
Yes, exactly.
The wrap up.
So, Zhen, if you were to nominate 3 people to also receive a Sapien NFT passport, who would they be?
Okay. My co-founder, Leonard. He's a fantastic human being. He should receive a passport. My mom should receive a passport. She's a fantastic human being as well. And my girlfriend, Nat, should receive a passport.
Zhen's keeping it close to the tribe.
Yes, great picks.
Yeah.
Can't contest those.
I don't know if you guys read Sapien's book, but we had to. We all started with tribes, and I think that's what, like, even now, kind of like we resonate with people via who we know. Unfortunately, I think as well, while it's a human strength, I think it's a human flaw as well. Because when you create a group, you distance everybody else. When you prefer somebody, you distance everybody else in the world. And shouldn't we be one human being, one citizenship in the world?
I do think, Yeah, that's a really difficult question, and it's really multifaceted because
Yeah.
people spread into different communities for different reasons. But I think what we need to do is really elevate the bridge builders, the people that are connecting communities and that can help align them.
Bridge
so,
builders.
Yeah,
That's right. Interoperability between communities, empathy between communities.
Yes,
So
yes.
That's right. That's how we stop war.
Final question here, Zhen.
Yeah.
What does community mean to you?
I think it's just a group of people in which you identify with. That's ultimately. It's to do with identity, who you feel you are, who you feel you're part of, and what you feel you're part of.
You're definitely part of the Sapien tribe and our community, so
Oh, excited. Yes.
thank you for your time today and answering all our questions.
No, appreciate
Yeah.
you guys having me here.
It's been a pleasure.